have you. So I am Daniel Moyano, and I am the director for the Quantum Bioengineering Institute. I will be introducing Sandra Fernandez today, which was the founder of this institute and is also the director. And today she will navigate us through the basis of the Quantum Bioengineering Institute, and it's an introductory work for the whole quantum bioengineering training that we will have in October in Spanish. And this e- event is also being uh, online transmitted to different affiliated centers in Mexico, Uruguay, Peru, Spain, and of course in English through my translation. So I hope that you're well, that you enjoy this introductory course, and it's very important during the course to follow our recommendations. No eating, that the camera is facing you, and please enjoy this experience, which will be much longer in circular time than 4 hours. So Sandra Fernandez says, welcome to Quantum Bioengineering. It's a pleasure to be here and to open this call for internationally so that many people can introduce these quantum bioengineering tools in their practice. We are before a very important method, not only of therapy, but an educational method. And it has been here for 8 years now. And so we will focus right now on the basic tool of this methodology, which is the heart. Please take the pulse of your heart. You can do it by locating it on your wrist. And let's put all our attention at the beat of our hearts so that we can go into this new paradigm that is to live from the heart, to evolve from the heart, to heal from the heart, and above all, to generate this great spiritual connection from our most powerful spiritual center, which is the heart. So let's start by putting all our attention on the pulse of our heart. It's very important to physically take your pulse because we can feel the beat of our heart. We can come back to ourselves. We can connect the center of our existence, our biological containment and sustainment. So once you have located the pulse of your heart, we will, through our attention, intention, and compassion, locate ourselves in the center of our hearts, in that axis of our existence. I will give you a few moments so that you can position yourself in exactly that point, that center, your axis. And if it's more comfortable to take your pulse somewhere else, like in your neck or your temple, that is fine. The important thing is to find that pulsation, and you put all your attention, intention, and compassion in connecting to your pulses, your heart's pulse. And as you feel this beat of your heart, we will have one intention, which is having all our attention on all the hearts that are currently beating on earth, to connect them with our, as human beings, with our evolutionary mission. We will feel, how is humanity right now? What does it feel? How does it feel? What do we share with all other sentient beings? with all those hearts that are beating, human hearts that are beating, of all other species, what do we have in common? Let's try to find that common denominator. What do we have in common? And we will try to go deeper, finding that place where we are all one. Finding that place where we are connected, where we are united, where we are in cohesion. And when we find this positioning for our consciousness, because it's truly a positioning of our consciousness, let's find as humanity, where are we going to? Not at an individual level, but as humanity, where are we heading? Where is our purpose as humanity? I would like you to write down the answer that you get. What is the purpose as humanity? And if you want to, you can share it here in the chat. What is the purpose of us as humanity? And why are we talking about humanity? Because this feeling, this inner feeling that you have to want to heal, to want to go forward, this intention of wanting to be happy, this feeling of wanting to see everybody well, everybody living in well being, this is a common denominator of all humanity. I want to share something with you as you reflect on this first question. Some days ago, I was in the northern part of Spain in some beautiful forests of millenary trees, some of the most ancient forests in Europe. And I came upon guardians of prehistoric structures, very special structures. The main one, it's unique in the whole planet. It's very similar to the Nazca lines in Peru. It is a prehistoric goddess that is giving birth. It is not a very well known place. It was a blessing to come upon it. And we were working there as part of our pilgrimage through all that quantum bioengineering is doing through the whole planet. And the message is very clear. A new humanity is being gestated. We are gestating a new humanity. And this has to do with this internal feeling that we here have of going forward. This feeling that we all have to heal, to liberate from our ancestral burdens, to go to reach our maximum potential, to feel that what our purpose is, so that each day is better than the last. And we can see ourselves in the mirror and tell ourselves, yes, I am who I am going where I want to go. And I'm talking about this because this is the sense of going forward as people, as humanity. It's impossible to go through it if we don't do it through the heart. Please note this. We cannot go forward, not as a individual, not as a family, not as community, not as the whole humanity, if we don't do it through the coherence of our own heart. Because when we leave coherence behind, we are betraying ourselves. The moment this family is leaving behind the coherence of their hearts, the family system is betraying itself. And as humanity, during millennia, we have left behind our coherence with our own hearts, and we have paid the consequences. So our consciousness is looking to go one step forward. And a new humanity is actually being gestated that has to do with a human being connected to its heart and going through life connected to the heart. And this is a new paradigm that we are opening. And in quantum bioengineering, our commitment is to teach people to listen and understand the language of the heart. And this goes through listening through our pulse and understanding our pulse, that it's not only a physical and biological pulse as we have been taught to believe, it is really a quantum pulse. It is the pulse of consciousness. It is a cosmic pulse. It is a pulse that is interrelated with the pulsation of all beings, of all realms. It is a pulse. It is a unity that branches out through each one of our hearts. And so we know as a species what it has been for each one of us to go through life from the mental point of view that have become obsolete, that were real and valid for a certain time, but it has not been that all the time. We have acted through patterns, rules, laws that are obsolete. And we are still here looking for our path forward. We are looking for that path. And because we know that there's more, there is more, but the only way of doing it is through the heart. So I want to invite you that through all this introductory course in quantum bioengineering, you have your pulse taken. The physical pulse that is pulsating, beating inside of you. It's not only a biological sign, it is an electromagnetic sign, it is an information sign. It is a signal that is talking about how you are, how you have been, and how you will be if you continue making the same decisions that you have been making. So the pulse of the heart is a technology, a quantum technology that has infinite possibilities. While we're here taking the pulse of our heart, I would like us to do a small trip journey, an initiation trip. And I want you to go back to the moment that you were being gestated. And for the first time you feel your pulse, that instant in which we were just a tiny beating heart that was beating. And it's the first organ that is formed during gestation. So let's connect with that instant, the first beat of your heart, where we were only a tiny but very potent heart beating. That instant where our signal appeared on this planet. Because the pulse of our heart is actually a signal that we are emitting. Our hearts are talking, not only with ourselves, Our hearts, the moment that they start beating, they begin to tell the message of the plan of our soul that we brought into this planet. Our hearts, with every beat, are expressing a message that can be of love or of fear, that can be of hope or renouncement, that could be of wonder and joy or sadness and grief. But they are talking. With every beat, there's a whole story. And as we connect with these first beats of our hearts, of our existence, let's try to feel the message that we brought in when we came to this planet. What was the original plan of our soul? I'm not asking you to understand it. Just feel your heart and have the intention of feeling those first beats of life. And let's start from the starting point, honoring, deeply honoring each one of us, the first beats of our hearts, honoring the courage to be here, honoring the plan that brought us here, the purpose of being here, whatever it may be, because the moment that we honor life within ourselves, we can honor life in all sentient beings. And we start walking. That path from the heart means respecting the heart of each and every being, its free will, its own coherence, and even if it's different from ours, each being has its own coherence, and each being has to develop its potential from its own coherence. Coherence from families, from partners, from children are not valid here. It's only your own coherence so that you can develop your own plan. And we're here to understand that language. I respect life and coherence in myself that made me land in this planet. That is my purpose. And therefore, I can respect the coherence of each one of the hearts of this planet. So let's give ourselves permission to thank, to be grateful. And this connection to our pulse, to our heart, for He sustains us every instant, even when feeling betrayed, even when we don't listen to it, even when we don't follow its guidance. Let's thank our hearts for being there unconditionally for each one of us all the time. And we will start understanding its language. Therefore, while we have our pulse taken, I want you to connect with a moment in your life when you were not following what your heart was telling you. Any instant you did not follow the coherence of your own heart and observe in meditation. How did it make me feel in that when I did not follow my heart's coherence? What were or are the symptoms, the physical symptoms? What did my body register? What symptoms are showing up when I am not coherent with my heart? Because at the bottom of any disorder, there is always an incoherence. It could be insomnia, it could be pain, it could be a toxic relationship. It could be an economic problem. At the bottom of all of them, there's always incoherence with our own soul, with our own heart, that is generating chaos towards the outside of our life. So please write down what symptoms come up when I'm betraying myself, because we're entering a new paradigm and we can actually walk from the heart, live from the heart. We can create a whole life from the heart. Many people are already doing it. And there are thousands of people that have gone through this institute that are freer, more happy, that live in a more empowered way. So write down, what are the physical symptoms when I'm betraying myself, when I'm betraying my heart? It could be emotional symptoms, it could be physical symptoms. What do I feel? How do I feel emotionally? There could also be mental symptoms. How does my mind behave when I'm not following my heart and what it feels like doing? What happens to my mind? And what are the spiritual symptoms when I'm not following the coherence of my heart? It could be this emptiness and feeling when I don't follow my heart. So we have physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual symptoms. However, look at what we have been told by the system. It is that we rule ourselves from the mental principle, not from the heart. We know now that the heart is so neurological system that we will talk about later. But the heart is the first one to register information that's coming from the outside. We, as a species, first we sense through the heart, and that information then goes to the brain, to the mind, and it's filtered through our own belief systems, our mental patterns. All the information of past experiences are unconscious. But the first one to grasp the information in a pure state is our heart. What we call intuition is really vague information of all that the heart is registering in the fields around you. So the heart has a multidimensional intelligence. It can register information from the stars, from the dark energy of the universe, and from the ants that are going underneath the ground. So the heart has this capacity to relate to all of that information, to an infinite number of species. The heart has no limits, but the heart needs to be liberated. And this is our responsibility. We are here to liberate our hearts. And so, if we have begun to observe how we feel, how our physical body reacts, our emotional body, our mental and spiritual bodies react when we don't follow our heart, how can we pretend to have an advancement going forward if we are betraying ourselves? Even if the system tells you it's okay and that you're going forward, a part of you inside knows that something is not actually working. And why does the system teach us to guide ourselves from, from our mind, from the educational belief systems, those mental patterns? It's very simple because it's much easier to subjugate a species based on the insatisfaction, a bottom insatisfaction that causes consumerism, that if a being is free and happy, if you are free and happy, what do you actually need? You don't need anything. When a being is imbalanced, when it is a state of peace and love, do you need something? You were in a perfect state, and you can only reach that state through the coherence of your heart. And in this era that we are in, we find ourselves in the interface. Okay, in the last 50 years, we have begun to connect again to our heart, and we are beginning to open a new path that is faster every day. And so, as we open this new path, the human being that is awakening from that consciousness of the heart stops being a subjugated being. It is starting to be an independent being. It is not producing to begin to be. So please stop producing so you can start being. Because the day that you die, you will not take with you what you have produced. You will only take with you what you have been. The moments of being, the moments in which you have actually been, not what you have worked. Who remembers what he did when a person is dying? If you have ever been with a dying person, does the person remember what it worked for? No. So honoring life is starting to be loyal to your own heart. And I'm not here to tell you what your heart says. That is what you have to find out. I can teach you the tools so that you can listen to your heart and understand your heart. Otherwise, useless. So we have heard for millennia that people come and tell me what I have to do to go to paradise. We are now at the moment in history when it's our own job to hear and understand our heart. Because there's no absolute truth. And there's not one option that serves everyone. We are a whole world. And it's so sweet. It is so deep. Simply let's do us a journey through all the forms in which life pulses, the different stories, the different histories that each one of us carries, and therefore the coherence that we have. And there's something really magical about this. And it is that when several beings are in coherence, they can uh, couple in a perfect state and they complement each one, everyone. So it is not so. If as humanity we are in a crisis right now, we have to find that perfect coupling where we as a race can see forward a new evolutionary octave. So, welcome to Quantum Bioengineering, a model that it's not only therapeutic, but it's also educational. It's not only healing, it is teaching. So people can be free. So people can be independent, not to depend from us as therapists. It is that people can listen to themselves and can make their own decisions, unique decisions that come from this deep respect. A therapeutic and evolutionary model that was born 9 years ago, based on a system of navigating and a discovery that Sandra made through the pulse of the heart. that she will talk about. So we always say that quantum bioengineering is a revolution. And it's a revolution because it's truly, we are generating a new frequency. So every time that there's a person that listens to his heart, she or he, uh, their heart is liberated. We are growing, each one of us, to that paradigm, generating a revolution to the system that tries to keep us producing and following principles that are no longer valid, that we go forward being stagnated. So, quantum bioengineering is a revolution of the system, but it's a silent revolution. You don't have to go shouting, we are free, we're free. It's a liberation of the frequency. And I want to explain this further. With your pulse taken, please remember, and remembering is going back to the heart. So, how do we feel when we are suffering? Let's feel how our heart is pulsating when we're suffering. And we will realize that when we are suffering is because there's an incoherence. We can suffer because I want to rest and I can't, because I'm closer to a person that is not different frequency, or because I'm in a certain type of job and I would like to be in another one. But at the bottom of everything, the frequency of suffering is there behind all circumstances. So I want you to observe it. How is that frequency when you're suffering? And now I want you to remember what the frequency of your heart is when you are feeling well, when you're flowing with life, when you are coherent with your times, your rhythms, your relationships. So why do we say it's a consciousness revolution? Because every time that we are incoherent, we are generating a frequency that goes against the system. The system does not want us to be happy. And by now we have that clear. The system is not worried about us being happy. The system worries us producing. So if someone is not producing, the system will punish that person. So being coherent is basically starting being you and doing what you want to do, what you feel like doing. And that goes against the system. And this is what a consciousness of revolution is. Happens that being you heals you and heals everybody around you. Because when you are incoherent and you're suffering, all around you are also suffering. They got hit, they get hit. So, how many times we have harmed the people that we most love because we were not coherent with ourselves and we were not okay. So, we have to start understanding this not only for myself, it's for the world. We have to understand that there's a tapestry that goes beyond ourselves in which we are collaborating, but starting by ourselves. But we are completely connected. So it is a revolution, a deep revolution. When I created this method, I remember that these words from Einstein appeared. I was in doubt if going forward with this project because I had many other things to do. Was giving therapy, and I did not want to lose time in creating the whole structure for a method and teaching. And so this message appeared in front of me in the correct moment, saying, I believe in creation and creativity and imagination. Knowledge is limited while imagination embraces the whole world, helping the process of birthing evolution. It is strictly a very important factor in scientific research. What does this mean? This means that as humanity, we go on doing what we have done before. We won't achieve anything. We have to start being ingenious. That's why this is called bioengineering. We have to be ingenious. We have to release the genie inside of us that is capable of producing what is impossible. And we are here experts in creating what is impossible. We are attending thousands of people, and those people are starting to create things that they thought were impossible. And many of you here know what I'm talking about. You have gone through this journey not once but many times. And it depends on being in coherence with our hearts. I would like to talk about coherence because many times we say words and we might think that we have it clear. But before I start explaining what coherence is, let's do a personal reflection. What is being coherent for me? What does it mean to be coherent for me? So let's feel what is being coherent for me with our pulse taken. Let's give ourselves a couple of minutes. I mean, we know it's a frequency state, but what is actually being coherent for me? Very well. So please write this down because this is the basis. The state of coherence is a state of integrity, of what my heart feels, what you think, what you say, and what you do. And of course, the system does not teach us to be coherent. It teaches us to be dissociated. It teaches that in order to get something, you have to do A, B, and C, but not follow your heart. This state of coherence sometimes is misinterpreted, and we think that it's only, okay, yes, feel, think, and do. But until you do it, your plan cannot manifest. So this is something very important for all students here because sometimes, many times, we know what we have to do. We know what our coherence is, but we don't follow it. We don't get into action. And this is very important, getting into action, because we feel that the spiritual path is going upwards, but it's really bringing paradise into earth. It is materializing the plan of our soul here on earth, is creating the plan of our soul. And the only way to doing it is doing, not with our mind, not with our thoughts. We develop and we realize ourselves through our actions, our coherent actions. The plan of the soul, our most deep existential plan, materialized with our actions, with our coherent actions. So, quantum bioengineering, besides being an invitation to listen to your heart, it's also an invitation to take action in your life because many of you know and you know what you are. Some of them are still finding out, but you know what your plan is. Some are finding out what your plan is, and it's all perfect. But everything has to be brought into action. It's an invitation to step into action. So we will do a little exercise here. And so, with your pulse A taken, I want you to feel what is the biggest incoherence in your life right now. And when you have it, the first thing is not to judge that incoherence. I want you to observe it, that part of yourself, full compassion, that choice that you made or that you're making. And now you will give yourself permission to visualize. You will visualize yourself doing what will actually be coherent, doing what you feel is coherent. Action. Visualize it and feel what happens in your physical body. How does it align? Feel what happens in your emotional body when you take action through your visualization and you put everything in coherence. What happens in your mental body? And what happens in your spiritual being? And tell me, what is produced when you simply visualize it? And we visualize is the first step forward, is giving ourselves permission. It is a starting point. What happens in your physical body, in your emotional body, your mental and spiritual body, when you see, you visualize yourself in a coherent state? What was incoherent, you have changed it to be coherent. So, liberation is produced, relief, peace. Your heart expands. So, the basis of recovery is this coherence. We want to recover ourselves. We want to heal ourselves, evolve, be happy. But without being coherent, can you really be happy? Can you heal? Can you go forward? Okay, so let's drink some water, please. And an exercise to do at home when you feel. Make a list of all the incoherences that you have in your life and do the same process from compassion. Start transforming that incoherence into a coherent visualization. What would it be to be coherent in this specific point? So, at an unconscious level, we are activating mechanisms that we open up to into those possibilities. And that possibility can always be created, even if your mind tells you you cannot. It's an illusion. One of the things that we have to go through when we start listening to our heart and making the heart our navigation system in reality, there's an interface where we have to get rid of those mental structures. They will just collapse and we will realize they were no good at all. So everything that you were telling yourself that you thought was that was hurting you, that was thinking that you it could not be possible, or that you were not worthy, or that you were not enough, all of that will start to dissolve because what the heart does beautifully is that it has no limits. So that's why we do so many crazy things in quantum bioengineering. We do a lot of marvelous things because our heart has no limits. How do you feel when you were young, small child? Because all of us, when we were children, we felt what the coherence with our heart was until the system came in. Did we feel that there were any limits? No. And how do we feel when the system began to put on limits? How does a child react when you do not allow him or her to be coherent? So he reacts either with anger or with sorrow, and it gets sick. So have we seen in the animal kingdom where we do not allow a being coherent, it simply dies. A dog or a tree. If you do not allow that being to be what it needs to be, that is coherent for it. At a biological level, when we do not allow coherence, there's disease, chaos, and ultimately death. So that's where we are as humanity, because we are not coherent. We are not in the coherence of our being. So that's why it's so important to go back to that coherence. So, exercises for home. Step number one, locate all the incoherences in your life. Could be that you eat or rest in an incoherent way, that your work is incoherent. Just do a whole structure of all the incoherences that you observe. It could be in sexuality, in your social relationships, it could be in the activities. So go over your whole reality, all the planes of your reality, and observe which have incoherences. Write them down and do this exercise. And then you'll do something else that is very interesting and that you will do right now with the ingredients that you chose for this session. What is the price of following that incoherence? Okay, so watch this question. Okay, write it down because it will do you a lot of good. What is the price that you are paying for that incoherence that you have just worked with right now, the one that you visualized? What is the price? Is it your physical health? It's feeling that you are not doing what you deserve to be doing. What is the price? Because there's always a price for being incoherent. And the system has taught us to sell our coherence. And when we do it, we are selling our soul. We're giving away our soul. And this is no nonsense. And sometimes this happens with the things that we love the most. Your father may come in and he will tell you, okay, so I'll give you a house so that you can live just beside me. But your coherence is going to live in another country. That is your coherence. So what is the price? of staying where you don't want to stay. And sometimes the price is very high, like your health, physical or mental. And this you can recover, and can recover very fast. So as soon as you know what your coherence is and you get into action, the changes are impressive. They are spectacularly fast. So our work would be to list our incoherences, visualize the transformation into coherence, and the next step, ask ourselves, what is the price of being incoherent? What it has generated? And this will give us the energy to act so that we recover in action our coherence. And so all this research, I want you to do it with full compassion from the love towards yourself. It's no way judging that you have been half your life in incoherence. That is the path that we are in. We are in that interface as humanity. We're going from navigating in duality. We have navigated life reality from duality. Yes, no, good, bad, good, evil, ugly, beautiful. That is our dual brain. But now we are beginning to navigate life through our heart, which is coherence, which with infinite possibilities. So it's okay. We are all learning here. And this is like going to the gym. We practice, and then you realize that we're again in an incoherence, and then you sometimes go faster, you sometimes go slower. And every time that you realize how how much you have recovered, you will start protecting your heart because you are the only one who can protect your heart. Each one of us are the guardians of our heart, and the heart is the center of our being, of our consciousness. If something hurts it, it hurts our complete axis. We walk towards interconnectivity and unity point of unity. And this is what we want in quantum bioengineering, that as we generate this unity state, this new matrix, this new frequency generates a process of revolution. Revolution means to go to the next spin in evolution. So I'll give you this exercise here and do it as many times and as deep as you are able. So, how are you doing so far? Everybody's okay? Great. You see, consciousness does not stay with one thing. All our discoveries are very important. They are sacred because they are messages, a deep message. All this uncomfort, all these disorders are telling us that that's not the path to follow. When we are not coherent, disorders and discomfort begin to appear everywhere. And it's actually our consciousness that is doing this. The consciousness is pushing us from our hearts because there's a plan. And if we can't develop this plan, unfold the plan, then our consciousness will retreat, will just contract. And when that happens, you have depression, you have existential void, you have disease and ultimately death. Because the heart, if it finds that it cannot develop the plan, it will just go back, retreat. Nobody can tell you what your plan is. But as the more that you live your plan, the more alive you will feel, the more connected you will be, the more illuminated and present you will be. And this is a reason, an electromagnetic reason. This is science, not only spirituality, because every time that your heart beats, it is generating an electromagnetic frequency. When the heart beats in a coherent way, the electromagnetic field is much bigger. What does this mean? So you see here this image that is surrounded by electromagnetic waves that have to do with the pulse in the heart. So these electromagnetic waves that are being emitted not only towards the exterior, but also to our internal being. All our cells are receiving information from our being. So if the emission is being incoherent, then all your cells are receiving that information and they will begin to feel stressed, uncomfortable. That's the same thing for your whole reality. So the implosion that you do with your electromagnetic field is talking to all your surroundings at a frequential level. So when we are in a state of love, in state of coherence, what happens is that we begin to connect with deeper fields and unlimited fields. And this is a higher level of electromagnetic communication. And that is the state of bliss. That is the state of illumination. And why do we say illumination? Because the electromagnetic field is completely expanded. Because we are electricity. If you take your pulse, you will feel the electricity. You are emitting magnetism. You are emitting electricity. You are emitting light. So connect with that electricity for a moment and feel that with each beat of the heart, it is emitting a laser, a light, and magnetism. Feel that light with a color or several colors that for you are coherent. And observe how all the hearts that are beating around you are also emitting that laser. And let's ask ourselves, how would our world be? How would humanity be if we all lived from the heart in coherence? And this is something like a utopian dream, but it's not, because there are scientific research that has told us that we resonate among each other. So the moment that a minimum of human beings are in that frequency, that cardiac frequency, there's a change in the paradigm. It has happened before. We learn through frequency, we learn through resonance. And so the commitment of quantum bioengineering, when we teach therapists, we are actually forming emitters of frequency, not the tools that the person uses, but the frequency that works with those tools. So in quantum bioengineering, the tool is yourself. You are the tool. Your frequency is the tool. It's your intention, your compassion, it's your attention. Those are your tools. So all the structures that we use and create at the virtual level with our frequency are the tool, but we don't use physical tools. That is the future. The future is also a preventive health method. It's not necessary to wait until we have a disorder or a disease in order to attend it. It's not necessary to reach a crisis. It is listening to ourselves to prevent those states. It's teaching others so that they can listen to themselves and prevent disorders and chaos. Prevention here is the key for the future. We don't need to learn through pain. It's not necessary. It's simply choosing to listen to ourselves from the deepest part. And so in quantum bioengineering, we do it through the pulse of our heart because the pulse of our heart has a language. So simply take your pulse and feeling it simply makes you reconnect with this technology. And of course, there are several levels of training that we do. But the basic one is every day, take your pulse and you are there for yourself to listen to yourself. What do you need? What do you really need? So take your pulse to your pulse and listen. What is it that you need? Do you need love? Do you need forgiveness? Do you need to go to the beach? Do you need to talk to someone? Or just pet your pet? What do you need? That gesture is so safe. Listening to yourself, listening to your heart, and honoring your heart is honoring your being. And that which you need, give it to yourself at this moment. If it's only an action, if it's only a visualization, to give it to yourself. And you gave yourself permission to do it. You are here for yourself. And the better that you are, the better that you be transmitting, you will be able to accompany them, to empower them. It could be your parents, your children, your grandchildren, because when we are in well being, when we live a life with purpose, we are unstoppable. Unstoppable. But we have to add coherence. And so, this topic about being in coherence is doing a course with Sandra, and I will be in coherence for a little while, and that's it. No, this is an everyday task. Every day I have to listen to myself, to my heart, and ask what is coherent. And I direct my paces, the whole, my whole navigation towards that coherence, because there's something important here. And what is coherent today, it could be incoherent in 3 months. And so the mind does not like this. How can it be that being coherent today is this, and 3 months from now it is no longer coherent? Because you have evolved. The heart of each one of us is looking for evolution. The heart is an evolutionary technology that is always looking for the next step. So we cannot take for granted that if I'm coherent right now, I will be coherent for the next 10 years. This does not work like that. But at the same time, it's so fascinating to listen and find that purpose every day because she has learned that the heart has like doors, magical doors towards the eternal magic of existence. And the heart knows those doors. The heart knows what doors are and how to reach them. And it can also know how to reach the people that you're looking for, how to reconnect with others. It knows how to heal your past. And it knows what will happen depending on the choices that we make. So sometimes when we make a choice and we have that heart feeling that something will happen. So when the heart is altered, besides when we're doing exercise, it's because it is telling you that that's not that a path for. It's confirming that you are taking the right choice. So when it's yes, you feel a certainty. And when it is an alert sign, then you sometimes even have that unstable beat. You cannot sleep. You lose your breath. And it's because your heart knows that that's not the path. It's a warning. So in quantum bioengineering, besides teaching the language of the heart to listen and to understand that, that's what we're heading. Okay, we're going one step at a time. So we use a series of tools that we teach during our trainings that are tools for coherence, that help you sustain coherence. And those are several tools like sacred geometry of several types that we have a lot. Some of them are multidimensional. We use photonics, light, okay, different frequencies of light that are coherent, master frequencies of light, and sound frequencies that are also coherent that help to stabilize the heart and maintain the heart in coherence. And besides, we use the information, the specific information that our heart gives us or the patient's heart gives us. So, what a better chance than this one to help our heart take a step forward. We are going to work right now with a practice that has to do with creating our first formula. In quantum bioengineering, we call a formula to the combination of a geometry, a sacred geometry, a light frequency, and a sound frequency, all of them coherent, plus the information that our heart gives us. So I want you to have your first experience here. So with your pulse taken, it's very important to keep your pulse taken, and we will put all our attention, intention, and compassion in helping our heart recover frequency. That is our objective right now. And so each one of you will ask your pulse for a symbol or a geometry that will help the heart come back into coherence. It could be a symbol or a geometry, something that will help your heart recover coherence, its frequency. And the first symbol that comes up to your mind or geometry, just keep that. So the first symbol that appears, and then wrap your heart, visualize yourself wrapping your heart with that symbol, with that geometry. Keeping your heart completely wrapped with that symbol, that geometry. And now ask the pulse of your heart, just as you were calling them it on the phone. What light What color of light does your heart need to recover coherence? It could be one single color or tone. It could be several. And begin to wrap your heart in that tone of light and those colors of light with infinite rays of light. The geometry, the symbol, converts or transforms itself to that light that goes inward to your heart and outward with an infinite number of rays. Okay, so you have the symbol, the geometry, and the light. Now ask your heart, what sound does your heart need to recover coherence? It could be any sound. Trust your heart. It could be whale sounds or your father playing the violin when you were small. Any sound. Wrap your heart with that sound. So we have a geometry that is wrapping your heart, the light, and the sound. And now we go to the last step here. Ask your heart what else is needed to recover the coherence of your heart. It could be anything, any remedy, any information. It could be the medicine from a specific plant or your connection with a planet or a galaxy. It would be could be an archetype type of energy, a mineral. So what appears in your heart, you will put it there, and you will maintain yourself there, breathing and allow your heart to recover its frequency, its coherence, and your frequency quality rises. Let your heart be expanded, liberated. The higher your frequency, the more ordered your frequency is, the better that you will feel and the better that you will help others feel. Very well. Now, let's drink a little bit of water with that energy to your body. So, how has this first experience been for you? Is it okay? So, now let's go to prepare, but we will go further. Let's try one of the formulas in quantum bioengineering. So what we have done so far is the basis part. So now, if anybody feels sleepy, that is okay. That means that the system is really resting after so much stress. So if you feel like that, that is fine. Respect your own being. Okay, follow your own coherence. So with our pulse taken, let's prepare a formula with more advanced tools so that you can experience them. Some tools that are taught during the quantum bioengineering training. Okay, so with your pulse take, we connect again with our heart, putting our intention again on raising more our coherence. We want our vibration to be much higher, to be liberated, so that our heart is free. So let's start to feel that we connect our heart with the heart of the earth and the heart of the universe, making our pulse with our intention be synchronized with the pulse of the earth and the pulse of the universe. We see the pulses like a wave that connects, okay? A wave of the great ocean that connects with that of the earth and that of the universe. We fuse ourselves, we synchronize ourselves. And now, from the heart of the earth and the heart of the universe, a tapestry is generated around our heart that will surround our heart. The universe itself, the planet itself, will weave around our heart, creating a hyper geometric structure to take our coherence to the next level. And it's not any type of tapestry. It is a hyperstructure made up of tachyonic energy. Tachyonic energy is a highly spiritual energy. It's a master energy. So we will experience that tachyonic energy wrapping our heart in that hyperstructure of geometries around our heart. These geometries that will begin to wrap themselves around the heart start to liberate the heart, to dissolve the wounds. They start to reconnect the heart. Tachyons begin to spin, feeling the heart with spiritual energy, repairing the heart, recovering all those lost parts. And now we will connect from that universal and earth pulsation to a master light, which is also a quantum bioengineering tool. Through our intention, we connect with the super electron light, connecting it to our heart. We put our attention, intention, and compassion on the electrons of our heart, start to spin in the right manner. And an atomic level, the atoms begin to illuminate themselves. It's a beautiful and deep tapestry. Also, the language of both cetaceans, whales and dolphins, will also connect here. Those frequencies that are so advanced, we go into our heart, connecting with the geometric tapestry and the super electron light. we connect with the Shema codes, which is another of the quantum bioengineering tools, that will start to align all those fractals that have been deviated through our whole life, covering its real axis and purpose. So you can be completely grateful for the past and all the energy available opened up into the future. And lastly, we will work with another of the quantum bioengineering tools. I'm only invoking them. Even if you do not know what they are, I want you to experience them. It's a part of the training. So we will connect now with what we call axial technology. And what this axial technology will show us is where is the basic anomaly in my existence? What is the main anomaly in all the tapestry that I am, that I have been, that I will be, that great tapestry? What is the main anomaly? And it will appear. A situation, an experience, a happening, a feeling will come up. And keep that something in front of you without judging it. It could even be someone in our lineage. Observe it from the deepest compassion without judgment. And ask the axial technology to give you a remedy to correct that anomaly. That your heart feels just introduce it into the anomaly so that it is corrected. It's brought back into order. Here and now. And just feel the state of your being. And remember that every step you take is for yourself and for the benefit of all beings, because we are one single tapestry. Take a deep breath. We will drink a whole glass of water, and I will give you 5 minutes just to stretch. Okay, so we're coming back. Sandra always teaches from frequency. So let's remain with our pulse taken all the time that we are connected in these type of exercises. So let's go back. Very well. Are we all here now? Great. Some are still missing here. Oh, when it's incoherent, it's actually in a transformation or transmutation phase. So everything that is incoherent will turn into coherence or it will turn onto 0 point zero. So everything that is incoherent, it moves fast. Nature will always strive to recover coherence. But all the harm that those incoherences do in the way, that will remain. So, yes, incoherent things just have a limited lifespan because nature is not ruled by incoherences. It is an anomaly. It's not part of our nature, not the cosmic nature, nor the rules that govern our universe. But the time that that anomaly lasts can generate harm. So we have to be alert so that we can correct those anomalies as soon as possible. And this is a global crisis we're going through. That is also part of the new frequencies that are pushing us forward, that are entering the planet. There's a specialty in quantum bioengineering that is called astro bioengineering. And in this specialty, we work with the information, the energy of the different cosmic bodies. And there's something very interesting here. In ancient times, human beings were very connected with the heavens, cosmic bodies. But now we have lost that connection, and those energies have gone through a whole graph of satellites that are around our planet, and we have a lot of pollution in our outer atmosphere and pollution in the waters and the pollution in our own bodies. We have a lot of toxins, pollutants in our bodies. So before, human beings were able to receive from astral bodies a lot of it medicine and information. And for many millennia, it was easily accessed. But now you're not receiving that information. Not only do we have a disconnection from the universe, we also have a disconnection from the earth. Okay? So we are really in a paradigm that is really complex, that it has to change or we will be distracted, destroyed. So this movement for the consciousness awakening is also being pushed by the master energies so that we make a change. The fact that we are looking for paths, for answers, that we want to improve, that we are really interesting ourselves in a global change is not random. It's something that is pushing us to go forward. And the more of us that we are in this path, the better. Some years ago, talking about all these paths was completely hidden. But now we are more open. And that is goes hand in hand with the system trying to grasp the control of everything. Consciousness begins to wake up. And we are like evolutionary agents for evolution. We are beings that are empathic, that we resonate, that we connect and feel others. and we feel the trees, we feel the animals, and so that makes us be an evolutionary agent. And we have a responsibility here, the responsibility of generating a resonance. Maybe we don't have the responsibility of being a therapist or a teacher, but we are responsible for generating and sustaining a certain frequency. So in quantum bioengineering, we'll treat through the pulse to find um, until that we receive the information from the heart. We will work always in the quantum system. And this is the information that comes from the atom downwards. Those are things that cannot be measured from the mind, but govern our whole reality. So when we are touching something at a quantum level, it will generate a resonance that will modify the subtle fields, the energy, until it reaches matter. And we are experts in working at these deep levels. That's what we do in quantum bioengineering. So engineering is a whole set of methods and technologies that we implement to develop the maximum potential of human beings. Ingenious is trying to design, to create, and go beyond knowledge. So the light and the possibility of co-creating goes beyond knowledge. And so bioengineering is applying life engineering in each one of our hearts for the benefit of all sentient beings. And each one of us have different and unique capacities and gifts that are waken up by the coherence of the heart. But this is also important. When a heart is incoherent, the defects in us are awakened. When we are incoherent, all our defects come up, our karmas come up, and all those genetic burdens that we have will come up. And this is very important because every time that you're beating in incoherence, you are emitting that frequency into yourself, into your DNA, and you're activating that darkness within all those karmas and all the disorders at a cellular level. But when you are beating in a coherent way, the gifts and capacities are the ones that will be awakened in you. So you will generate dharma. Karma has the mission of correcting and correcting cause. So karma is always an incoherence. So when you are stop being incoherent, you will end karma and you will generate dharma, which is an illuminated path for all sentient beings, including yourself. It is very complicated that in incoherence that you develop your gifts. The lack of creativity, the lack of abilities, the lack of will and motivation comes humble from deep incoherences. Incoherences take away your soul, your energy, your time. So they will rob your time, your plan, your energy, and also probabilities of going forward. While you are in incoherence, you lose probabilities. Probabilities will never open before you. But when you start being coherent, the universe says, well, now that she is coherent, now I will open those probabilities. So it is an excellent way of exiting stagnation. So one of the bases of quantum bioengineering that have to do with metaphysics and quantum bioengineering. So when in the institute we not only try, but we form teachers in Europe, in Mexico, in Uruguay, in the United States, so in Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and I'm probably forgetting more. So we form teachers so that more people from many different walks of life can come in. It is not only for therapists. We have policemen, we have judges, we have mm, doctors, we have housewives, we have children, and we have old people. So we have people with uh, discapacities. So each person applies quantum bioengineering to its own sector and empowers it. So the level, the frequency of the person will determine the efficacy of the treatment. So, two different people had put the same acupuncture needle in the same place, and they will have a different effect because it depends on the frequency of the person that is applying the technology. So that's why in quantum bioengineering, it doesn't matter what the person does in life. The important thing is for them to understand their own frequency, to find their coherence, and to modulate their own frequency. Because in the moment that your quality frequency comes down because of incoherences, automatically you are exposed to a lot of problems, any type of problem. If your frequency quality is low, then you are being aligned with anything will make you feel terrible. Negativity appears and sticks to you, and if when you raise your frequency quality and you position yourself in a different frequency, facing the same reality, it will be completely different. So let's make a small test here. With your pulse taken, I want you to connect with an event in reality that was difficult for you to live through. The frequency as it was at that time, and that your frequency was low at that moment. So choose one, a moment in your life where your frequency was low and you went through the whole situation with that frequency. And now put all your attention, intention, and compassion in raising your frequency in that specific moment, in that specific event. You can raise it by connecting with geometry, with light, sound, as I taught you today, in connecting with the universe energy, okay? And now live that event with that higher frequency. See the difference of facing the same event with a low frequency and with a high frequency. Can you look at it the same way? Do you see the same probabilities of going through it the same way? No, it's different because it's not what it's outside. It all depends on what you have inside, what you are at an essential level is frequency. So your vibration, your frequency, your information is a choice. You can constantly choose either staying in a lower frequency or in a higher frequency. Listening to our heart to empower that frequency or continue in our routine that you feel that you no longer want to do and your frequency is diminished. When our frequency quality is high, our observer of reality changes. And one of the great principles of quantum physics is that the observer alters the quantum field. Your observer alters reality. So if your frequency quality is low, you observe reality and you will make reality be vibrating at a low frequency with everything it implies. Toxic relationship, the wrong job, etc. The moment that your frequency quality goes up, your observer is now in a synergic band that is called an elevated synergic band, and you will start co-creating incredible and marvelous things. And this is something that we are experiencing right now. It's already a reality. All that you are and that you emit is transmitted. We cannot fool anyone. What we are as a frequency is being emitted. It doesn't matter how you dress, how you have your house, what you say, what you are, and what you vibrate is what you emit and transmit. And you cannot fool the universe. We can use any type of masks, any type of veils with ourselves, but we cannot fool cosmic consciousness or source or the universe or the unified field. You cannot fool it. Our reality is the product of our emission. Our reality is a product of our frequency emission. Our reality, be it external reality or internal reality. So reality is not only what is outside our body, but also our reality is my relationship to myself. It's also the microcosmic reality, how my body reacts to what I am emitting. So that emission of frequency is multi-dimensional. Every time that you vibrate, you are creating infinitely inside of you and infinitely outside of you. It's like the toroidal structure. Every time that you breathe, you explode. Your toroid is exploding and it is also imploding. They're both at the same time. So the information is going outwards and it's also going inwards. That is the tick, 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 tick of your beat of the heart. Depending on the frequency, is what you will be co creating. So coherence is the alignment between what you feel, what you think, and what you do. And here, moral principles that were given to you by your educational, spiritual, or family system has nothing to do. Coherence sometimes goes beyond morality, and it does because of an evolutionary purpose. So it's very important to take into account that our heart might do us like coherence, do something that for others is not correct, that others do not understand because it's not part of the normal principles that we were given. And that's when the black sheep in the family appears. And that many of us might be those black sheep in the family because we generate change. The heart will never lead you to hurt someone. The heart sustains and creates life. So, by coherence, the heart will never lead you to hurt, to to aggression. That goes against life. So quantum bioengineering technology sees as a priority the correct frequency of the therapist. For us, it doesn't matter what you do in life. You are a therapist if you have a high frequency quality. Okay? So you are a therapist if you have a high frequency quality. Sometimes a shepherd taking care of its goats will have more coherence, a higher frequency quality than a person that has titles and does says one thing and does something else, and that is being incoherent. So the important thing here is your frequency, the quality frequency that will turn you into a therapist. And so the information of the quantum field is how we sustain our evolution. Consciousness is expanded by frequency quality. When we have a high frequency, when we are coherent, we gain consciousness because we are more connected, much more connected. And being connected, we are more conscious, we are more aware. The matrix in which we are involved is changing rapidly, and it's allowing us to have access to information that was not available before for humanity, or maybe only to special people, to hermetic groups. But in this era in which we are right now, the trap is the complete opposite, which is dispersion. There's so much information available that it's easy for the ego and the mind to be lost. So always feel in your heart what information you actually need. Let your heart tell you what information is useful to you. And your heart will know what helps you and what distracts you, what gives you peace or what gives you stress. It's not the amount of information, it's the quality of the information. And another key element here is discipline, which we lack as a society. A discipline that is understood from passion of the heart. Discipline is the only thing that will lead you to achieving your objectives, that will lead you to action. If you have discipline, you will dedicate minutes to listen to your heart every day, and in a month, you will be completely different. Now, if you only do it a couple of days, and then 6 months down the road, you do it again, then your advancement will not be the same. This is like a gym. It's not a magic wand that will make you happy in an instant. This is a gym. So mastery is achieved through practice. The more you practice, the more you will know who you are. You will remember who you are. And this is wonderful because the thing here is for everybody to be independent. We don't want our patients and our students to be dependent. On the contrary, we do not allow codependence in the institute. We want the patients to become therapists and the therapists to become teachers so that they can become anything they want. We do not want them to depend from us. We are very proud of patients no longer being patients, but now being therapists. So that looking at that independence is what makes us feel that we're going forward as an institution. Human beings are the most powerful technology that exists. All the engineering that around us in the whole world comes from the complex structure we are. Everything that we have constructed in the planet and things that will come in the near future are part of what we are in essence. And that's why she says that we do not know who we actually are. The example here, uh, a worm in coherence will eat many times its size, right? She's making a special comment for someone in the room. Okay. So when, yes, this worm eats many times its size, if you do not allow it to eat so so many plants, the moment that it needs to be a chrysalis will not have enough energy and will never become a butterfly. It will never form into a butterfly. So human, when it doesn't have the enough coherence to become what it actually is, and including ourselves and Sandra, she would like to do an experiment, Sandra, to have people that make the commitment of being completely coherent for a whole year in the desert, in the Saharan desert where she lives, and see what happens. Because we are so limited in all the planes and levels of our life that we can't actually know what we become if we lived in a natural state. So let's perceive. Take your pulse and observe. Connect with the human race in complete coherence. How would it develop? What would it be if it lived in complete coherence, sleeping, eating, participating, creating in complete coherence? What would the world be? Who are we? Someday we will do this experiment and we will measure the field evolution. We will do this experiment in the desert. We can't know who we are because for millennia we have not been in our own coherence, but we are in the path of recovering it. We are channels of for receiving and emitting from consciousness and its information. We are receiving constantly information and emitting it. Consciousness chooses resonators, chooses the information that we receive and the speed at which we receive the information. Through our electromagnetic fields, we are recovering information that might come through in days, years, months, depending on our own rhythm. The treatment that we do in quantum bioengineering has no obstacles except what consciousness as such determines. And this is very important because obstacles do not really exist. How many times have we gone through an obstacle and as we look backwards, we see that it wasn't so big after all? So let's take a pulse again. Breathe. And let's connect with a moment in our past where we faced a great obstacle, what it meant for us at that moment in time, how we lived it, how and how we experienced it after we had gone through it and it was part of our past. What does this teach us? We can see that everything that we observe from the mind has limits, but everything that we observe from the heart is limitless. That's why sometimes we don't understand the heart and say, why does our heart want this? But it's because it doesn't understand about limits. The heart doesn't understand about limits. The heart is limitless. The heart is eternal. The heart is multi-dimensional. It has no limits. Drink some water, please. And now we'll go with an example of a treatment. We will start learning how the pulse works and how the language of the pulse works. So let's just go over some basis, okay, for understanding our heart. So the heart, which is the basis of quantum bioengineering, gives us a key here. It will always register information before it reaches the brain. It registers information in a pure state. Therefore, the heart thinks and has its own intelligence. There is a place, very important and interesting place in our hearts that I want you to show you. It's a sinoatrial node where the pulse of our heart starts. It's the place where the beat of our heart is generated electrically. I want you to situate yourself in that specific spot in the heart where the beat is generated, the sinoatrial node, and position your consciousness there. Try to go as deep as your consciousness allows right now. Like when you're following a river and you reach the point where it is born. Locate the place where your beat, the beat of your heart, is generated. Enter through that portal and navigate through it. Go deeper. Remember, understand, what is that place? What is that signal? Is it a language? What is it saying? What is beyond the place where the beat of your heart is generated? What is beyond? It's a place where the mind cannot reach, but the being can. The being is in that place, and it remembers, it acknowledges it. The brain only receives instructions from the heart. That's why sometimes when the heart feels that it has to direct something, it will take commands and it will make you do things that your mind will never understand. But the idea is that we are able to understand it. We don't have to reach that point. And so that we listen and just understand that many of the patterns of the structures that we have been given are no longer valid nor useful. This will happen many times in the path of our heart. Mental structures will just collapse. They're no longer valid. We have to live this with gratitude. So, with your pulse taken, observe from your heart what is the mental structure that you have, and that at this moment in time is ready to be dissolved. A mental structure, a belief system, a behavior pattern, a personality that simply is ready to be dissolved. So your heart can be freer and your mind can also be freer to follow the path of the heart. Please write it down. Name it. What is that structure? What is that pattern? What is that personality trait? Name it, write it down. We are going from the dual brain, looking at what is ready for dissolution. So we will do an exercise using another tool that has to do with the dissolution phase. In quantum bioengineering, we work with three phases: regeneration, which is recovering energy; dissolution, which is dissolving what is no longer useful; and there's a third stage, which is reprogramming, where we take information to a higher octave. So we work right now in dissolution. Can't be a better moment. So with our pulse taken, observe that structure that you observed that is ready to be dissolved. That behavior, that belief system, self-sabotage, whatever you found. Raise your frequency quality and observe this with full compassion, because it's very important that when we observe what we want to work with, we do it from a very high frequency quality. Let's connect from our pulse, as we did before, to the pulse of the earth and the pulse of the universe, synchronizing ourselves. Synchronizing deeply, completely, with the wave of the ocean that connects but the beat of the planet and the beat of the universe. And same as before, from the pulse of our heart, we will create a geometry structure that will wrap that which we will be dissolving. The one be any geometry, any structure that your heart points to. We will wrap what we are to dissolve with it. That geometric structure has a high coherence and starts to use that coherence to begin that process of dissolution. Besides the structure, geometrical structure, feel how it's also made up of tachyonic energy. So it has a high spiritual energy. We are not going to dissolve through pain or from pain and fear and anger. We are going to dissolve from a high frequency quality, from compassion and the spiritual energy, which is the tachyonic energy. So you will ask your pulse now, what are the photonic or light frequencies that you will introduce in order to dissolve that obsolete system? Could be tones or hues of light, could be combinations, or master photonics. Each one of you will feel a different photonic frequency going into the geometry and involving or wrapping what we are dissolving. We go now to introduce. We will introduce what we call anti-sound. So what it does is like erase the word that generated this system. It comes from the father archetype. So this anti-sound will erase that obsolete creation. Could have been a belief, a mental pattern, simply erases the word that created it. We go now to the axial technology, which will show us the main anomaly that has to be dissolved related to what we're working on right now. It could be an ancestral belief. It could be coming from a childhood trauma. So axial technology will show us the main anomaly of what we are dissolving here. And lastly, the axial technology will give me the definite remedy for the absolute dissolution of this. The heart knows what you need as a remedy. Just with your pulse taken, allow your pulse to work. Even if you do not have the words or the language for the remedy, your intention is doing the work. We remain there for some moments, feeling the geometry of tachyon energy with the frequencies of light, the anti-sound, and the actual technology working on the solution, knowing that each step counts and we have gained one step forward so that our heart is freer to communicate with our consciousness. This connection between the heart and the consciousness, call it the meridian between the pineal gland and the sinoatrial node. So it's a meridian that links both structures. So to close with a golden rush here, I want you to visualize a channel full of light, full of love, full of spiritual energy that goes from your sinoatrial node in the heart up into the pineal gland in the brain, feeling that it recovers all its speed, its strength, its cohesion, its coherence, and that these two spaces are completely bonded in harmony and balance. Take a deep breath, drink a lot of water. As I told you before, if someone needs to process, to lie down, you can do it. Just simply keep listening. Don't force things because these are very advanced and powerful tools and they mobilize a lot of energy. If someone is dizzy, just take more water, okay, and rest. Sometimes part of the process. As I already told you, the heart thinks and has intelligence, and is the first one to receive information that then goes up into the brain. The heart is the one that generates our energy. And then we say that I don't have any energy. If you betray yourself, how can you have vital energy? The moment that we are incoherent, that we don't follow our heart, the pericardium membrane that involves the heart contracts. And that small contraction generates the heart to enter a process of rigidity and blockage. And that does not allow the energetic flow to happen from the heart. All our energy is emitted. So if the heart is our internal emitter, then it's very important to take care of it so that we can have all the energy available to go forward. We cannot go forward without energy. So that's why the first phase in quantum bioengineering is a whole protocol that we apply to ourselves and patients to recover energy. And it's also taught in the quantum bioengineering training. If you do not have enough energy, you cannot change. If we don't allow the heart into coherence, we do not have enough energy. And that's something that we also work on the protocol. So the heart emits light that is the main source of information on which the brain and the body work. And they are the whole web with which we understand the world. All reality depends on that quality frequency that we are emitting. So we know that our heart is a whole system of neurons and also creates reality through its information. That is, what we live as a reality is a constellation. It's a constellation of the information from our heart. And that is very important. So you can write it down. What we live as a reality, it's a constellation of the information of the heart. If we respect that or not, we will create one or other reality. And this has to do with everything: relationships, economy, sexuality, health. So coherence is not measured as yes or no having it. It's rather, if you have a lot of coherence, for example, in your work, but your coherence with yourself is not good, or the relationship with others is not good. So you could have very good coherence in some aspects of your life and very bad in the other one. So it's not that you are coherent or incoherent. Okay, no one is completely incoherent or completely coherent. So it's a scale of grace. So our work here is to find where we are weaker and work on them. Okay, so it's not yes or no, as the dual brain will tell you. Some planes of your existence where you are very coherent, and other ones in which you need to work on to recover coherence. So the heart generates an electromagnetic field much bigger than the one that the brain generates. So it's all the information that we have access to. And the electric field of our brain, of our heart, gives orders, information to the whole body. The heart produces a hormone that allows for homeostasis of the body, and it controls the emission of the stress hormone. So everything here is to mm, focus that if we are not coherent with our hearts, we cannot go forward. It is impossible to go forward with the plan of your soul. So now we will go directly to find out about the navigation systems. So here it is the connection with the first beats of our heart, that we are already bonded when we started with this conception process, and we start that vibrational emission, and then it becomes a physical emission. The heart node is actually a wormhole that connects us to infinity, to infinite dimensions. It's a channel through which we can navigate in infinite space, times, and dimensions through the pulse of our heart. We can connect with other pulses. What we know now as internet, it's a rather poor replica of the technology of the heart. That's why we can work at a distance. And we will do an exercise right now. So take your pulse and feel how it beats right now. How is it? What is its rhythm? What is its vibration, its texture? And have the intention of connecting with your pulse when you were 5 years old. Does it feel the same? And now have your intention of connecting from your pulse to the pulse of a loved one, the first one that appears in your heart, a loved one. Connect to the heart, to the pulse of that person with your intention. Does your pulse remain the same? Do you feel the rhythm, the frequency, the quality of your pulse? Is it the same now, connected to this person? It changes. And why does it change? Why does the sensation change? Why does the texture, the rhythm change? Because we are connecting with another information. You have to take into account that for many of you, it's the first time that you are hearing about quantum bioengineering and you're doing this exercises. This is something that you have to train, that you have to develop. Many years ago, Sandra was thought and made believe that it was a gift and that she could not teach it. But she has reached the conclusion that it's not true. It is a matter of practice, of discipline, and that's the way it has been. That's why many people are learning about this with practice, with discipline. So it's just a matter of practice and discipline. And as I told you before, the quality of our pulse will activate certain information in our DNA. High frequency quality will activate donors and dharma. Low frequency quality, karma, and effects. So the green line represents the coherent frequency, and the red one, an incoherent frequency of the heart. What? Which one would you have for lunch? If this was food, which one would you have for lunch? The red or the green one? What have you been eating 24/7 so far? Okay, so yeah, little smiles begin to appear. Yeah. So what are you consuming? And this is your food every instant. And you can choose which one. We are the chef, and we are the one that eats the food. We drink some water. Look, one of the basic traps of the system is that we have been told to believe that we do not know. And when you believe that you do not know, then you are in a dependent state of what the system is supposed to know. When we actually know everything we need in order to be well and to live well. That's what happens with birds. They migrate, they build their nests. Any animal or plant follows their own coherence and they know what they have to do. They know when to do it. But we have been taught that we do not know. But that's not true. We do know everything. Quantum bioengineering is something that you are remembering, not that you are learning right now. You are just remembering, recalling what it is. Remember means go back to the heart in Latin. Okay? So we have examples of how the electromagnetic field behaves with high frequency, low frequencies, our connectivity level. So with raising the coherence, then every level of manifestation improves. We now going to talk about the three masteries that we should work on together with coherence in quantum bioengineering. So I know I have been insisting on coherence, but that is the basis, and we do not have this very clear. And it's something that I always have to be remembering to my whole team. When we lose that basis of coherence, then our impact is very relative. Because if we might understand everything, okay, we might understand everything that comes in a book, but if we don't sustain our coherence, we cannot go forward. So the basis is coherence. And from that starting point, we have three masteries that we need to master. So attention is the first one. So attention allows to open information fields. Where I put my attention, I am putting my energy. And it's one of the things that we have to re-educate ourselves in. Are you a master of your attention? If where your attention is, your energy is, are you controlling it? Are you positioning your attention on what gives you energy or what takes away your energy? So there's something that we call attention cages, which rob us from our energy. Those are aspects of our reality where we put our attention on and are dispersing us, are draining energetically. A therapist has to be a master, an artist of attention. He or she knows where to put the attention and when to change it. The system tries to manipulate and pull our attention on certain points where it is trapped. But for us, attention is very important to maintain it on what is important for our soul. So exercise. Where is my attention regularly? Regularly, where do I put my attention? Could it be the news, worry about a loved one? Where is your attention regularly? And then ask your heart, what is the really important point from your heart and your soul point of view where you should be paying or placing your attention? If it is the same thing, then congratulations. You are putting your attention on what is good. Now, if not, no problem. Just recalibrate your attention and just shift from a toxic place where it's draining your energy into a more coherent place. This is something that you develop in quantum bioengineering in our trainings, because if a therapist is focused on doing things quickly because she has to go to the supermarket, then your energy and the result will not be the same as if she focuses on all her attention on the patient. So we have to be able to educate our attention from our heart, from the priorities of our soul. And it's very important because sometimes our heart wants to pull our attention to grandiose, magnificent things. So, for example, if you have your attention on something in the media, but when you take your pulse and feel your heart, what it wants to pay attention to. It wants you to pay attention on whales, for example, on connecting with whales, on or on being connected some with some power plants. So there are infinite possibilities, but don't let other ones manipulate your attention. Social media manipulates your attention and grasps and traps your attention, and that is your energy. And attention opens portals. If you have my attention on a person with a negative obsession, you will open a portal, a toxic portal with that person, and will create fractals of yourself that will be transiting the negativity with that person. That's why ignorance is one of the worst poisons. And ignorance is a lack of consciousness on your attention. And it's one of the basic qualities and masteries that we work with in quantum bioengineering. The next one is intention. Intention allows that where you put your attention, it is sustained. From where and for what will determine the, the result. It's not the same thing to have your intention of healing someone and having your intention on healing in order to be famous. Okay? So it has nothing to do one thing or the other one. So, and this impacts the results. So that's why our results are sometimes not what we wanted because our intention was not impeccable. From where and for what am I doing what I'm doing? And for a therapist, this is key. From what and for what am I healing someone? Am I teaching someone? Am I creating a project? From where and for what am I contacting a person? Because that will impact the results of everything that we do. From where and for what depends on your feeling of your intention, is where you will be navigating. It's the type of reality that you will be navigating in. If your intention is pure, is impeccable, you will know a person in one way. And if your intention is different, you will meet someone different. So it determines the result in reality. So the therapist has always been aware of the intention of all she thinks, does, says. It is a creation in itself, and we are responsible for that creation. And then we have compassion. That is another of the fundamentals in quantum bioengineering. Compassion gives us efficacy. Without compassion, it is impossible to go forward. You cannot go forward if you don't have enough compassion for yourself and for all beings. Capacity to develop maximum capacity is given by compassion, which is the quintessence of love. How can we generate compassion within ourselves? Because sometimes we don't feel compassion. So let's make an exercise here. So take your pulse and let's connect through our attention and intention with all the beings that are suffering right now. Listen to those beings that are suffering for any situation. Compassion always starts in the capacity to listen. That capacity to listen connects us to other beings which are always listening, are also in listening, are also compassive. And it doesn't matter what the type of suffering that you're listening to or perceiving. Let's give our intention from the heart. Let's create a formula to alleviate that suffering. We visualize that person or that community, that the suffering that you are perceiving, you wrap it with a geometry. You wrap it in a light, a sound, and you put your best intention, your best compassion, your highest compassion in introducing a piece of information from your heart that will allow to alleviate those beings and send that formula to that person. Whatever you're working with is perfect. Send that formula and allow yourself to receive a message from that being after receiving your formula. Feel through the pulse of your heart what is the message that he or she gives you in response, and put it in your heart. And just watch as each act of compassion enhances your potency, your compassion. Your heart is being fused with millions of hearts because beings know when they are being healed. Energetically, they know, and they become your allies. Many times we think that in the way forward we are alone, but it's not true. And when we are vibrating in compassion, we are united to a web, an infinite web of beings that want to go forward and that are helping others. Through diagnostics, through the pulse, we can know and treat any aspect that is in disorder in a person. So, how do we do this? I told you before that we have two types of diagnostics in quantum bioengineering. The first one was discovered by a French doctor, Paul Noguer, which made this discovery that was great, unique, but has not been recognized enough. Because if it weren't for this, we wouldn't be here today doing quantum bioengineering, because Sandra's discovery parted from what this man discovered. He discovered that the heart has a kinesic frequential language. So the heart responds to consciousness. That's that capacity. So basically, you will do an exercise to understand this. The way in which you make the diagnosis with vast vascular anatomic signal, it's very simple. With your pulse taken, feel your heart. And I will explain what a VAS is. When my heart is beating, she will make a sound. Don't. Okay, so that's the sound of a beat of the heart, right? And VAS is when the rhythm goes up and it just you lose the beat and then comes back. Or becomes louder or it becomes softer and then comes back to normal. So a fast is either when the pulse goes up or goes down. And it indicates a disorder in the frequency. So if you take your pulse and you start to put your intention on going over your whole biofield, okay, your whole energy field around you. Connect with your field of energy through your pulse. Feel all the energy in your field. And with your intention, as you take your pulse, just scan the whole field and detect any disruption in the field where you see that there's a change in pulsation. That's a VAS. That means that you have a disorder, an electromagnetic disorder there. Okay, so put your intention on scanning your whole energy field, and when your pulse goes up or down, okay, just fix your attention at that point. Okay, so if you detected that change in your pulse, indicates the position on the body. Okay, okay, so that's, you can see right now why it's very important to do this in person, because we can get feedback and guide people to detect this these changes in pulsation, and we can go deeper into the reading. If some of you cannot find it, it's normal because it's the first time that you're doing it. So we have found a place where the pulse has made a change. That is one way of diagnosis that has to do with the Paul Nogueir's work. The other way of diagnosis is understanding the information that is there. And this is the quantum toroidal pulse, which is Sandra's discovery. So within the physical pulse, there is an information pulse. So the electromagnetic lines that are generated by our heart are really ways or roads of information. So we enter the whole system of information in that heart. Okay, they're like paths, roads. So please connect again to the place where your pulse changed in your field and make a question. What is the disorder that is related to this point in my field? And information will appear. What is the disorder that that I have at this point in my field? It could be an emotion, it could be a genetic disorder, it could be a dense energy, it could be an emotional labyrinth, many, many possibilities. So, from all those possibilities, your consciousness will select one, and it's not random. So, when you ask what is the disorder, information will appear. Write it down. What is it about? And if you so choose, you can share it in the chat. So it could be a conflict in the relationship with my brother. Anything, anything that appears is worthwhile, worth your attention. Okay, someone says here, fear. So, fear to what? Okay, we can go deeper. Pulse is like a phone, so you can ask all that you want. Okay, it's a fear. Now, fear to what? Where does it come from? You can ask all the questions. What is the origin of this fear? Okay, from a fear that has been there forever. Okay, now forever means when? When you were conceived, it's from past lives. So try to get the origin. Okay, so I'm surprised. I didn't think I would reach this point, but I'm seeing that all of you are doing great. Okay, so let's go for it. Let's treat it. We are still with our pulse taken. Now, maintaining that attention in that point. Now that we know what's happening, we'll prepare a formula as we learned before. So let's prepare a formula, a general formula. Okay? So within quantum bioengineering, we will have to see if we need to regenerate, to dissolve, or to reprogram. But right now, we're going to work on a general formula. So look for a geometry, a symbol that will help you put this issue in order. Okay, it could be a star, triangle, a sphere, and begin to wrap that disorder that you have found with the geometry. The geometry wraps around the disorder. Feel a light through your heart that will help to put that disorder that is actually a frequential, an informational disorder beyond fear, beyond conflict, whatever you saw, beyond that, there's information. Okay, so a light, a hue, a tone of light, or a combination that will help you align that frequential disorder, a sound that will help you to put order here. And lastly, the information that your heart gives you, any information that appears in your consciousness with your pulse taken to put this in order and remain there feeling how the formula that we have prepared connected to the pulse of our heart with the geometry, the light, the sound, and the information work on this disorder. We get this formula, this composite figure there. And scan again your whole field and put your intention and your consciousness on that specific spot. Does your pulse change again? Or is it already at ease? If there's no change in your pulse as you pass that point, then it means that that point is back in order. If you have a change in pulsation again on that spot, That means it needs another formula in order to be completely aligned. Okay, so you might need another formula, and probably the disorder, most probably, will be a different one. Okay, so drink a lot of water now. Okay, so if you lose the pulse, that means that you are processing and you probably need to rest a little bit so that all the information can restructure. Now, to close, I will perform a group therapy so that you can fully experience the work in quantum bioengineering. So I want you to take your pulse, connect with Sandra, and as I said before, quantum bioengineering has three phases. So let's align all of us, align as we did before. Okay. So aligning is connecting the pulse of your heart, synchronizing it with the pulse of the earth and the pulse of the universe. We raise our frequency quality with our intention. And now Sandra will connect to the heart of the group because any group, any community has its own beat. A relationship also has its own beat, its own plan, its own history. And so today we have a plan today. So as a group soul, we have a plan. Let's see what it is. Not only the ones that are presently here, but the ones that will be watching this video afterwards, that will be sharing this information afterwards. So let's connect with all the hearts present here, have the intention of becoming one, and we will connect to the hearts of all the people that will watch this video later on. And the first thing that we will do is work on the regeneration phase. What is the main thing that this group needs to be regenerated in order to go forward? What is it? And the main issue to be treated is to regenerate hope and joy to go forward. Joy and hope. So Sandra will prepare a formula now. She will work with the advanced tools in quantum bioengineering. After 8 years, last year, she uh, updated many of the tools because quantum bioengineering has been evolving. And so she will work now with the advanced master energies. So she will start with a geometry, and the best geometry would be a complex geometry of a sphere with a pyramid inside. So please connect with this geometry that is tachyonic. That means that it has a very high spiritual energy. And we add a magenta light. It's a beautiful spatial color. It also has goldish hues with super electron. And then we go to the sound. The group soul is asking for to regenerate joy and hope is the sound of the spin of the Andromeda galaxy. The spin, the sound that is generated by the spin of the Andromeda galaxy. And now we go to the axial technology to locate the main anomaly in this group that is generating that need to regenerate hope and joy. And the anomaly, the main one, is deceive, disillusion, disappointment with the system that have been accumulating through the different experiences. So that disappointment given by the axial technology as the main anomaly and the information needed is to receive hugs from all the beings that love each one of us. And they are long hugs, long embraces, not 1 second, 10-second hugs. They are minute and a half at least hugs. And those hugs where hearts connect. That's love at 0.0. That is, actual technology feels that this is the perfect remedy to recover hope and joy. So all of us begin to receive hugs. We go now to the next phase, which is dissolution. And so what this group, together with the people that have watched the video, need to dissolve mainly is the self-deceit. It's a way, sort of a veil that makes us self-deceive ourselves, and it asks to have a stronger coherence with one aspect of ourselves, each one of us. Each one of us will connect with that veil that does not allows us to evaluate ourselves directly. So formula, a geometry. So to dissolve this self-deceit, it will be a tachyonic hexahedron. The light that we will work with in the solution is an SU hard light, which allows for eliminating parasites and involutionary energies. And it will be of indigo, a very electric blue that will begin to dissolve that self-deceit. It is also like a metaphysical blue. We introduce the anti-sound that will bring all the self-deceit to 0.0. And this self-deceit comes from the collective darkness related to automatism, to becoming like automates. That would be the main anomaly. And the remedy to dissolve this has to do with a ray from the central sun of the universe that is a consciousness ray, those electromagnetic waves that our ancestors were able to receive and understand and digest. So receiving that ray, it's actually entering, the formula is going into the pineal gland of everyone here very well. Okay, so we have finished this dissolution phase, and now we will go to the reprogramming phase, which is the last one. And here we will observe What is the information that we need to bring to a higher octave, evolutionary, higher octave at a group level, has to do with modulating speed. Whatever happens, you feel that you are in the right speed, in the right moment, the right choice. So here, there's some manipulation in the evolutionary rhythm. It makes us feel that we're never on time, that we're out of place, out of sync, that it's never enough. So we are never in a balanced position. Doesn't matter what happens, what we do, even our best efforts, we feel this way. So in reprogramming, we will choose the main archetype to work with here, and it is what the heart of the group asks for is a quantum engineering tool that is called ideographic cybernetics. That is a template of acupuncture needles and circuits of advanced photonics. It goes into the brain that works as a protection at a brain neurological level to prevent this manipulation from the system that makes us feel out of place constantly. This cybernetic, geographic cybernetics that is tachyonic, we will introduce it as a special protection in the brain so that the central nervous system and everything finds equilibrium. And we assimilate this with our intention so that our rhythms are at a higher evolutionary octave. And each one of us here, I would like you to feel in the heart one action and as soon as you can, you do this. Okay? You can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay. So this action that you're going to do, it has to be very specific and make you exit the system. Okay? And this is like a first experience with quantum bioengineering. More than information, it's experiencing, applying these tools to your heart and learning to understand the language of your heart and try to guide you so that you know what can be done and developed through this. So I hope that you have enjoyed this so much as Sandra did. It's always a pleasure for her to share with all of you. And this is very symbolic regarding the quantum bioengineering formation that is 10 long days, and which from the second day you will always be practicing and processing. So it's always a turning point in everybody's life. And many people do it several times because every time it's completely different. So if you have the opportunity to attend this 10-day training or any of the other uh, courses and trips and anchoring activities. So we have a great team, and we always have free activities with our team of professors, and we are always uh, welcome to all our articles and our meditation practices. So more and more hearts are joining us from all the planet, and it's wonderful being able to live all of this together. So thank you very much. A lot of blessings to all of you. And let this be a first step for much, much more. We will put the post the video. So I know that many of you had to lie down, but so that you can do it again. The post is telling Sandra that it's enough for today because you need to integrate that has happened, and you will be able to listen to the video one more time. So a great hug from the Quantum Bioengineering Institute, and with this wanting to share with you and to meet you in person. So take care of you. More than ever, you have to understand the value of who you are. You are those evolutionary agents, and we are not randomly here doing what we're doing. I know that your being understands this perfectly. A huge hug. Okay, so I will leave you now with Danielle, which is also the director here. He wants to share some information. So good evening, good afternoon. So please, first I want you to say thank you for this trip through quantum bioengineering. It's not only an introductory course, but really to experience these tools that will lead us to have those spaces where we can be more self-sufficient and be responsible for our own life. So a huge hug to everybody, and to remind you that the quantum bioengineering training will be available only in Spanish for now in October, but probably later we will have in English. And there's another uh, specialty that will be held tomorrow, Sunday, that is called Tenebris, where we work with the poisons of darkness as remedies. And they're in the desert. It's we have another kind of type of work from October 7th to the 13th. There will be a quantum anchoring in the desert, where he will make a trip through the desert with different meditations and exercises with the beings in the desert. So, thanks to all the affiliated centers in America and Europe, and from Africa, I send you a huge hug.